Okay, so this was number 5. Now we're going to be going to number 4 of the top 5 arguments for the existence of the Creator of the heavens and earth. Number 4, take it away.
Number 4 has to do with biochemistry. Now suppose if you're traveling from Europe to United States of America. You just cannot travel, you have to have certain documents. And you have to enter through certain port of entry. And there would be some police, some guards standing up there, they will check your documents. So you have to have something. And once you land at the airport, you have to go to your house, you have to have some transportation. Maybe a car, and the car has to be safe enough so you don't, it protects you from the rain, wind and all of that. And once you reach inside the house, you have to have, certain way that you go inside the house. And you have to travel by highways, correct? So if you take that analogy, my dear friend Eddie, each single cell is more complicated and more efficient than any city or any nation or the whole world combined. Each single cell.
Wow.
Each cell has a cell membrane, and that cell membrane has special points of entry. And there are guards up there, special proteins and enzymes that only let certain chemicals in and certain chemicals out. Number 1. For those chemicals that are taken in, they have to go to their destination. So there are special highways which are called as cytoskeletons within the cell. Just imagine this. And then those cells, they have certain semis or certain trucks that takes those chemicals to their proper destination. And each cell and each of those vesicles or those transportation systems, they have a GPS system just to make sure that chemical has to go to the right destination. And after they reach there, the trucks, they don't just stand up there within the cell. They have to be loaded off. So there are special chemicals that load them off.
This is all in our body.
All in our body, all the 50 trillion cells, they are working day in and day out. This kind of a process.
Amazing. Subhanallah.
Yes. And again, let's take this to a higher level now. Suppose once you reach your home, you want to buy a book from Amazon, for example.
Yes.
Now Amazon doesn't publish the books, it only packages and it sends the books, ships the books out. So within each cell, you have a plant that produces the proteins, which are the ribosomes. Then you have a plant that packages, just like Amazon, you have the Golgi apparatus that packages the plant in such a way that in the mail it doesn't get damaged. It reaches the proper destination. Right? Now, once you're inside the house, you have to have the lights, you have to have electricity to function your computer, your television, and all the appliances. So within each cell, you have a plant house or a power plant which is called the mitochondria that supplies all the energy to the whole cell and the whole body. All right? Now, once we are inside the house, sometimes we have to dispose some of the garbage, and garbage trucks, they pick up each day, each week of the day,
yes,
of the year, right?
Yes.
You have to have that. If you don't, then it's going to be health hazard, whatever,
yes,
to the city and to the house. In the same way, there are certain chemicals which are called lysozymes inside the cell that are the garbage disposable units of the cell.
All this is working in the body.
In the body, inside each single cell.
And you don't even have to pay the workers inside.
You don't have to
It's
pay
all
at
free.
all. It's all free, my dear brother.
Yeah.
Yes. So look at it. A full functional city inside each single cell.
Wow.
Day in and day out, more efficient and more complicated than Paris, London, Chicago, or Rome for matter.
But the same way you wouldn't assume if you saw those electric poles and all those power lines going to their proper places, if you had that same setup, like you said, Paris, or even a small community for that amusement park, and you see all the different rides and the roller coasters, the houses, 2 flats, everything is set up, and you ask, who's the developer? Oh, it just popped up like this. We wouldn't accept that, would we?
We won't, obviously. That would be impossible. Just like they said that Rome was not built overnight, right?
Yeah, it wasn't.
It wasn't built overnight. So it took intelligent human beings for a long number of days and weeks and years to build Rome, one city.
Yes.
How can we imagine that this complicated city, which is the cell, was built by chance without any intelligence?
And from what you're telling us, this cell is more complex than any amusement park, any two-flat, any big skyscraper, any city, any of these things.
Not just complicated, more efficient.
More efficient also.
Yeah, not every complicated thing is good or efficient, but cell has two characteristics, complicated and efficient.
It's bizarre how and to what lengths some people will go, but it's amazing. I heard a story once I'd like to share, maybe you've heard it too, when one of the great scholars of Islam, he was having a dialogue with some atheists, and they had made a appointment to meet at a certain time and place. He was purposely late, and then they asked him, they said, "Why are you late? You're supposed to be a Muslim, you're supposed to be punctual, what's going on?" He said, "You know what? I came across a bridge and it was broke and I couldn't cross." And they said, "Well, how'd you get here?" He said, "Well, all of a sudden all the nails and the wood and everything came together and I crossed over." They said, "Man, you're crazy. Get out of here with that." He said, "I'm crazy." He said, "What about you? Look at this universe and everything in it and the cells like you're mentioning, and you're saying this came by chance? You're the one that's got something loose, not me." And I think if the story goes on, I think they accepted Islam, the call to the worship of the one God, worshiping Him alone and not His creation. So we will actually, go ahead, Dr. Bill.
Number 2 again. Suppose if I tell you, Brother Eddie, that this city, this humongous city, that it is going to replicate itself every few hours. That Chicago is going to replicate itself. All the structures, all the people, all the rides in there, all the electric supplies. It keep on replicating Chicago every few hours, each single day.
I say you're crazy.
But each single cell is doing that, my dear brother. As complicated it is replicating. So it could make more cells.
But we just can't comprehend that. But we can, when you gave this beautiful example, this whole city, we can see the city and we say, no, you can't do that. You know how many years it took to build?
Yeah, so just imagine that all the scientists, all the research institutions with the modern technology of the 21st century, we cannot even make one single functional cell.
Not even one functional cell.
Never, we never did that. So how can we assume that nature could have produced that complicated, very efficient cell by chance? Impossible. If it's impossible by human beings or anyone by nature, it has to be pointing to one direction, and that entity is a supreme being who we call as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
Before, because we're almost out of time and it looks like we're going to have to do a part 2 to this. We came to only number 2. And of the top 5, what is it about Islam that's so unique, that fits with human reason, with the intelligence of human being? Let's give them a little bit of the taste of Islam. Talk to us a little bit about Islam.
Islam, my dear friends, is very rational and it's easy to understand. It starts with the pure monotheistic belief of the concept of God. Oneness of God, very easy to understand. There is no complicated logic, philosophy involved. God is one in one, easy to understand. Then the way to salvation is very easy. Personal accountability. We don't have to give the sins somebody, no one has to die for us. If I did committed a sin, I would be punished or saved, right? Personal accountability. Number 3, the comprehensive guidance that God has provided. It brings peace and purpose in life, and it provides solution for a person and for the society. There's so many problems out there. And by living this guidance, by knowing the oneness of God, inshallah, each single person would find answers and peace and purpose in life and paradise everlasting in the hereafter.
And the book that we have here that God sent over a span of 23 years, as the previous books, some of the books that people have today, is it true that there is no contradictions in this book? There are no flaws, there are no scientific inaccuracies, none of this?
No, because the Quran itself says that in chapter 4, verse number 82, don't they ponder over the Quran? Had it been from anyone besides Allah, you would have found many contradictions in it.
That's a challenge.
It's a challenge. No single contradiction of scientific nature, of historical nature, of prophetic nature, anything at all. Then last but not the least, Quran also mentions in chapter 41, verse number 53, that God is going to provide the signs in the universe and within ourselves that may become apparent that this is the truth.
And indeed, it is the truth, and over 1.5 billion people testified to it, and it is something that if you look at it with an open heart and open mind, you'll come to the same realization. We're going to have to do part 2 of the 5 top arguments for the existence of God. Make sure you come back next week so we can continue, and we'll see you then, inshallah, God willing. Peace be unto you.